Hey everyone, Rindo here, and welcome yet again to Living Up in Lion City. I know it's been a while since the last podcast episode. It's been close to 2 months now, and I apologize for that. Life has been busy, and I just thought I'd record a quick episode right now to let you guys know that I'm still alive, and, talk about what's been going on and what's been on my mind, etc., etc. So, yeah, the long break, it was mostly work, to be honest. A lot of things were happening at the workplace, and, it's just been taking a lot of my time. But there were also other massive time sucks, like YouTube. Yeah, YouTube is a fucking black hole, man. Like, I would just watch one YouTube video and, it would just serve up the next one, which is exactly what I wanted to watch. And, it would just go on. So, those times when, you'll just tell yourself that you'll watch just one video right before bed, and then before you know it, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, that's been happening like way too often. I know that I should probably have been using my time more productively, but YouTube is still pretty great. Like, it's a fantastic source of trivial information that will never be useful. So for what it's worth, it was still pretty entertaining. Like, I think I was watching a lot of YouTube videos about the video game Mass Effect 3, which I've been playing a lot over the last few weeks too. So yet another time suck. So Mass Effect 3 is this science fiction RPG that came out in 2012, so it's a pretty old game, but boy, it's fantastic. Like, many years ago, I played Mass Effect 2, fell in love with it simply because it's just such a story-rich game, and you're so invested in the characters. And many years later, I decided to play Mass Effect 3, and it's great. Like, I remember playing it a couple of hours, maybe 2 years ago. Got bored of it, didn't touch it, and then just 2 weeks ago I picked it up again for some reason, and before I know it, I'm just so invested in every single one of those characters. Like, it's a ride, and it's awesome. If you haven't played any of the Mass Effect games, please do. 2 and 3 are the ones that I can vouch for. I don't know about the rest. But yeah, it's such a great game. Like, I was, the last 2 weeks, I was just happy doing nothing. Like, not showering for days, not going out. Like, sunlight, fuck that. I just wanted to see where I would go with the characters in Mass Effect 3. And if that wasn't enough, after, I don't know, countless hours playing that game and finally finishing it, I then go onto YouTube, and I just spent hours watching analysis videos of Mass Effect 3, like videos about why it was great, why some reviewers said it sucked, why those reviewers sucked. It just takes you down that rabbit hole. And side note, I'm kind of not happy about the content that YouTube is serving me. Like, I'm not happy with what's going on my recommended page on YouTube right now, because of all these video game related videos that I'm watching. The recommendations are all of the same ilk. Like, it's all these video game analysis videos. And let me say this, that particular genre of YouTube videos are kind of sucky now. Maybe it's because I'm just watching them so much that I'm inured to it, or I'm just getting tired of it. But fuck, there are so many guys, mostly guys actually. There are so many people out there who are just so fucking angry over a video game. Like, I know that there are a lot of video games right now that are being hyped to the sky, and then when it actually delivers, it doesn't deliver, what gamers and customers have been expecting. And so some of the dissatisfaction and outrage is kind of understandable, but man, these video game analysis YouTuber fuckers, holy shit, they take it to another level. Like, it's for one, nitpicking to the extreme. It's they're just overly whiny about a lot of things, and it just strikes me as slightly immature. And far be it for me to criticize, people putting out content about what they truly feel dissatisfied about. Maybe I'm just sick and tired of seeing, one after another YouTuber just whining about the same thing over and over again. I do realize that my bar is very low when it comes to playing any video game. Just, you could give me a stick and I would entertain myself for hours. So perhaps I'm not the right person to criticize this. So yeah, but I just thought that, it's just, man, like, there's just so much outrage, over a video game. Like, I enjoy video games, I really do. I understand if some video games tend to not be the best, but you don't have to scream and shout and rage and, tweet and, God, it's nuts. Back to Mass Effect 3. It's a great game. Do try it out. It was a game that came out in 2012, so it is slightly dated, very slightly. Like, some of the controls can be a little wonky, but I highly recommend it. Do give it a chance. So yeah, that's been taking up a lot of my time. There were some personal projects that I was engaged in, which was really fun. Like 2 weeks ago, some friends were organizing an adventure game of sorts, and roped me in to help out, and it was pretty awesome. Like, so they really drew me in with the theme of the adventure game, which was essentially it was like Amazing Race, but the theme was the plot of the game was that Sangnila Utama is ripped out of his time and into the future, and he's now wandering around, and it's up to like a whole bunch of time cops to find Sangnila Utama based on clues in different, that'll take teams to different parts of the city. It was really, really fun. I mean, it was a pretty hot day, the day that we were playing this game. Like, it was 33 degrees, but the real feel was 39, extremely hot. And yet, everybody who showed up in the, that afternoon were so invested in finding those clues and going around the city. And some teams were even taking cabs to get to the locations first. It was awesome. This is something that some of my friends really love doing, and I had a great time being part of that activity. I hope there's more games like that happening soon, because it's really fun. So yeah, all that just kind of took away from creating podcast episodes. And so what's going on with this podcast? So I know, like, before everything, all of these things, just kind of took a lot of my time. I did record a bunch of episodes with some friends, some people that I met over the internet, and I just need some more time to edit them and put them out. It has been some time already, but I'm really hoping to get back on it and put out something soon. Besides that, there were also a bunch of conversations that are scheduled with other friends, and I got to get around to that soon. So guys, once again, I apologize. I know it's been quite some time since I last asked you guys to be part of this, and I just need to get some of my affairs in order. Just be in a good space to have a chill conversation with you guys. So patience, and please bear with me. And speaking of getting around to doing all of these things, I guess one of the things that I realized is that this time, like, going forward, I I'm gonna try not to push myself too hard on this, and try to have fun. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I was taking this way too seriously. I was just not chill about this at all, and it kind of took a toll on me. It kind of took a toll on others involved in this project, which was supposed to be like a fun, chill project. And to those of you with whom I've been a little short, you know who you are. I truly apologize. And going forward, I think it's just I'm gonna try to just take a step back. I'm gonna try to just take it down a notch and be cool. It's gonna be hard though, but yes, I will be cool. All right, so questions from friends. So I put up a Facebook post asking friends if they wanted any questions answered about the podcast, just to keep this going. And I got some questions, so I'm just gonna check them out. Sherilyn asks about doing something about Singapore versus India. Wow, that's a big one. Like, it warrants its own episode, if not 5. There's just so much that I'd love to talk about. Like, we're just not talking about the surface level differences between Singapore versus India. I mean, there's a lot I'd love to share and explore with respect to my personal journey in both these countries. The different societal quirks, I guess. And this is like a lot of things. So, Sherilyn, this is going to be something that I will definitely do over the course of I don't know how many podcast episodes, over the course of I don't know how many years, because boy, is there a lot of material. I mean, I think the one thing that stands out for me when it comes to Singapore versus India is that I don't want to get in just yet, because I think there are different facets to these two countries that I do want to explore, which does warrant a lot of exploration. So yeah, Sherilyn, I hope you look forward to those episodes. So Sherilyn, thank you for that suggestion, and going forward I will definitely talk about some of these things. B asks about Singapore versus Indian biryani. Interesting. Well, B, I love both. So I find that Indian biryani tends to be like heavier. It feels like a brick after having, Indian biryani, whereas Singaporean biryani tends to be fluffier. Like the rice, the meats, they're all cooked separately and then put together. Whereas while there are tons of Indian biryanis which are done similarly, and boy, there's like a whole spectrum of biryanis. I find that the predominant kinds of Indian biryani that I have the rice and meat, the rice, the meat, and the vegetables like stewed together for quite some time. So it adds to that weight, I guess. It's such a dense dish. Not exactly the healthiest, but it scratches that itch when you really want to fill your tummy. Singapore biryani does tend to be like something that you can have as a meal on the regular. Okay, I don't mean like on the daily, but it can be something that you can have a lot more frequently than Indian biryani. V also suggested talking about the gig economy and what's it like between Singapore and India. That's a very interesting topic. Like, I don't know too much about the gig economy, to be honest. Like, I left India in 2011, and at the time, it was at a time when most people had more traditionalist ideas when it comes to jobs, I guess. The internet surely opened possibilities, but it really blew up in the last decade. So I don't really know too much about it. That said, I'm keen to have someone who has been doing this here in Singapore. Someone who has also been doing this in India, and honestly, like the holy grail would be, someone who has done it both in Singapore and India. And that person would truly give a great perspective on what it's like in both countries. Folks, if you know anyone, just let me know and I'll reach out to them. I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. Right, so the next one. Kai asked to comment on the Australian Senator Fraser Anning and his statements with regards to the tragedy that happened in New Zealand last week. It was a terrorist attack that claimed 49 lives in a mosque in Christchurch, New Zealand. Now, the Australian senator in question, well, he kind of made a statement to the tune that, let me just pull up the quote. So he's quoted as saying that the real cause of bloodshed on New Zealand streets today is the immigration program that allowed Muslim fanatics to migrate to New Zealand in the first place. Well, this was last Friday, and since then he got egged in the face, like some kid just smashed an egg on his head. He's also been strongly condemned by most Australian politicians, the Prime Minister of Australia even, and is currently one of the most hated politicians in Australia right now. I'm doing a bit of a cursory read, and he's a fringe far-right figure in Australian politics, and he's kind of known for opinions like this. Now, so my take here is, how little empathy must a guy have, that hours after a tragedy in New Zealand, in a sister country of Australia, they're so culturally similar. Hours after this tragedy, he has to take that and make it about himself and his pet agenda. I'm no longer surprised about what nationalist politicians say, but this is just, I don't know, it just sucks. Well, he's being rightly condemned for a lot of these things, and whatever his political agenda is, whether or not people agree with him or not, there is something to be said about being a little tactful, especially when there's a tragedy of this magnitude. I don't want to dwell too much on the politics of other countries. It's just, I realize that there's a lot of other stuff that is kind of disturbing. But yeah, I'm not sure if I want to talk about it. Well, I guess one of the more concerning things about last week's tragedy was that there's a guy out there who's been indoctrinated almost wholly by internet meme subcultures. I don't know too much about this, and far be it for me to comment something that I have too little information on. But yeah, it's just a sad it's just a sad state of things. Next, Isabella asks about corruption in sport. She says, corruption and cheating in professional sports are taking away the thrill and excitement from the game. And as spectators, we roll our eyes when you pretend you've been so badly injured to get a penalty and then you jump up and play on. Well, I don't follow sport that much, so I don't know of any current or recent sports controversies with regards to corruption. That said, yeah, it sucks. I remember loving cricket growing up, and sometime in the early 2000s there was a massive match fixing scandal that rocked the cricketing world in India. A lot of the top players were in on this scandal. It was like match fixing, and there's like a lot of money involved, and it just it stank, and that kind of put me off of the game, and a lot of my friends too, and we just got sick of the sport because of it. Now, it took a while, but over the years there have been like much better players with a lot more integrity, and cricket is kind of fun, but I just, since that particular incident, I just never got into it again. I do think that integrity is important in any sport, and but I guess big bucks just ride on these big tournaments, and so there's always going to be garbage like this. What can you do? Right. Shankar wants to talk about the best places to grab a drink in this expensive city for cheapos like me. Hey man, Shankar, I'm with you on this. Dude, that's a great question actually. Like, being the cheap ass that we are, it's been our continual quest to find, reasonably priced bars in Singapore. And as most of you know, alcohol is pretty expensive in Singapore, and I'm not going to lie, I get shell-shocked every time I check my credit card statement. But does that stop me from drinking? Nope. So yeah, it's an ongoing thing, but at the same time, it's awesome to explore new bars, and there are some pretty interesting ones out there. Like, yeah, so let's talk about that soon, Shankar. Next, Honey wants to talk about the evolution of the black Jesus. Right. So, I used to sport long hair and a beard for the longest time. And because of it, I've been affectionately called Brown Jesus, Indian Jesus, etc., etc. And that's how people recognized me. Like, the Indian guy with long hair and a beard. That, I was hard to miss, easy to spot in a crowd, and I was Brown Jesus to a lot of people. Like, people just called me that all the time. So 2 years ago, I cleaned up, I cut my hair, I shaved, and a lot of people freaked out because they've never seen my chin before. So it was like really funny. A lot of people just, I loved seeing the reactions when they saw me in this new look for the first time. And to be honest, I kind of like the new look. It's, I look a little more presentable. I don't get called like Jesus every other damn time I walk past a bar, and God knows that happens a lot. Like, it's fun. I mean, I get it. Hey, long hair with a beard, yeah, of course people are gonna call you Jesus, but after the 3,000th time, by some random drunk stranger, it gets old. And although sometimes people tend to be a little more imaginative, like one time I was walking down Club Street, and I got congratulated for winning Eurovision. For context, this was in 2014, and this was the year that Conchita Wurst, the cross-dressing singer from Austria, won the Eurovision of that year. So I was likened to that. So that was interesting. Well, now I'm just another Indian guy, and it's kind of nice that I'm not being looked at all the time. No, really, it is. It does come with some cons, though. Like, sometimes friends I haven't seen in a while, just walk past me, and I have to frantically wave to get them to see me. I'm looking at you, Sherilyn. But yeah, that aside, it's good. So that's pretty much all I have for now. There are a couple of episodes in the pipeline, as I mentioned. I just need to get around to the editing, and I'll get them out in due course. I may not be doing the whole weekly or bi-weekly thing. I'm just going to try to do it as and when find time. As I said, I just want this to be fun. So yeah, so guys, stay tuned for future episodes. You will hear more of me soon. Until then, see you around, Singapore.